Mohamed El-Erian, The Only Game in Town, Central Banks, Instability, and Recovering from Another Collapse. Dive into the world of central banks and explore their dramatic shift in power and responsibility in the book, The Only Game in Town, Central Banks, Instability, and Recovering from Another Collapse, by Mohamed El-Erian. Grasp the intricacies of central banks' roles in the global economy, from printing money and managing currency to fostering economic growth and ensuring financial stability. Discover how, post-2008 financial crisis, central banks have ventured into uncharted territories and employed unprecedented monetary policies. This summary will enlighten you on the key challenges faced by the global economy and central banks, along with a glimpse into the future of economic growth.
The power of central banks. Before the 2008 financial crisis, most people had a vague idea of what central banks were. They were state-owned institutions managing a nation's money supply. Today, central banks have more power and responsibility than ever before. They print money, manage circulation, foster economic growth, monitor banking, and ensure financial stability. The Federal Reserve System, or the Fed, is the U.S. central bank that supervises and regulates banks. However, central banks have been forced to venture into dangerous new economic waters due to the 2008 financial crisis. In 2014, the European Central Bank lowered the interest rate on bank deposits to boost spending, but it hurt people who were saving by taking their money away. The long-term effects of these changes remain to be seen. Central banks' failed attempts at growth. After the 2008 crisis, central banks have tried to restore calm but failed to create strong growth, resulting in 10 major concerns. Advanced economies currently lack a proper path to growth, leading many to steal growth from other countries. Central banks' attempts at stealing growth haven't resulted in economic growth and may overlook necessary structural reforms. Another failure of central banks is reducing unemployment, which hinders job creation and can result in economic frustration and extremist groups. Inequality and its consequences. The world has seen globalization reducing the gap between rich and poor countries, but within each country, income inequality is increasing. In fact, income inequality is at its highest in the past 50 years. Besides, it has been the cause of a great gap in accessibility of education and healthcare. Institutional credibility is eroding, and politicians and financial institutions have caused people to lose faith in banks and governments. This erosion of trust has also contributed to political dysfunction as unwillingness to compromise prevents progress. Big income inequality, indeed, has significant consequences. Rise of geopolitical tensions. Geopolitical tensions are escalating due to the inability of Western economies to control the international monetary system. Emerging economies such as BRICS are setting up their financial institutions to rival the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. This struggle for power generates geopolitical tensions. Additionally, the banking sector's regulations have resulted in increased risks outside the financial sector, such as liquidity risk. The reduction of irresponsible risk-taking by central banks contributes to the lower demand for investments, which further increases liquidity risks. The contrasting risks in the modern global economy. In the modern global economy, companies take low economic risks while investors take high financial risks. This trend hinders the economy's growth by preventing companies from making long-term investments and risking big losses and instability. Moreover, even the well-managed economies, companies, and households struggle to thrive due to the overall pessimism and economic malaise. Companies should invest in developing new equipment or training their labor force since low economic risk-taking is bad for the economy. High financial risk-taking is also bad since it can result in significant losses and instability. The trend of taking contrasting risks should be avoided since it hinders the economy, companies, and households from reaching their full potential, no matter how well they are managed. Investors should avoid straying too far from their areas of expertise to avoid significant risks. For key measures for global economic growth. The global economy requires four essential solutions to foster inclusive growth. Firstly, focus on structural reforms such as improving education and infrastructure to achieve inclusive growth. Secondly, address the disparity between willingness and ability to spend, and revisit austerity policies. Thirdly, remove debt overhangs that discourage investment and harm production. Finally, improve the design of the global economy by promoting a conductor, preferably the IMF. These measures can help boost the economy and enhance overall global financial stability and growth. Future of world economies. The world's economies will be divided into four groups: prosperous, slowly growing, stagnating, and volatile. The United States and India will head the first group, with annual growth rates between 6 to 8%. China, after stabilizing, will lead the second group with declining growth rates between the high 5 to 6% region. European countries, as well as Japan, will fall under stagnating groups due to high debt and unemployment rates leading to a 0 to 2% growth rate. Russia and Greece are the fourth group wildcard economies, with Russia potentially recovering from its recession with Western re-engagement and Greece's recovery depending on cutting its debt burden.
The Only Game in Town drives home the point that central banks have undergone significant changes and are confronting new challenges. While they successfully restored calm to financial markets after the 2008 crisis, they failed to generate strong growth. There are 10 worrisome developments in the current economic landscape, such as increasing income inequality, waning institutional credibility, rising geopolitical tensions, and an imbalance in risk-taking. To regenerate growth, the book suggests inclusive growth with structural reforms, resolving the disparity between willingness and ability to spend, removing debt overhangs, and improving the design of the global economy. As we move forward, countries will be divided into four groups based on their economic trajectory, shaping the global economic landscape.